Hey, Crystal Maiden here for part 8 of Knuckles Chaotix. And I'm in sort of a good mood because I found out that I don't have 10 parts in the main playthrough. This is actually the penultimate part of the playthrough, because part 9 is the finale. And then after that, there's going to be an extra video. But basically, this playthrough is going to be over earlier than I thought. I mean, I'm not having that much of a problem providing commentary because I've got a lot of trivia, but still. What is this game's obsession with making you press buttons to make doors go up? I mean, did we really like it in Labyrinth Zone that much? Anyways, there's a lot of leftover pieces of art revealing that Sonic Crackers was actually a work in development and not a deliberately unfinished product. Some people think it was just an engine test and that's it, but no, they were actually planning to make a game. And I'm assuming that Sonic Crackers was just a working title because, seriously, that name sucked. I mean, what does it have to do with anything? I mean, it's not like there were any actual crackers involved. And did they mean crackers in the explosion sense, or I don't know. Knuckles Chaotix was originally planned to be included in Sonic Gems collection, but it wasn't because it was too hard to emulate 32X software. Because again, to play this game, you've got to have a Genesis, and you've got to have the 32X add-on attached to it. There's so many different console add-ons that were tried, like the Sega CD, and Nintendo tried N64 console add-on that failed. It makes me wonder why people, like, why did it take them that long to learn their lesson that, you know, maybe people aren't interested in buying add-ons for their console. And this game is not 16-bit, it is technically 32-bit, like the Game Boy Advance games. That's why there's a lot of wireframes. But, like, other than a whole bunch of wireframes and polygons, I don't really see that much of a difference. I mean, even the Super Nintendo was capable of wireframes and polygons. I mean, just look at Star Fox. I mean, it looks really primitive and textureless by today's standards, but it didn't look all that different from this game. And this game doesn't look all that different from the Genesis games, despite being on a more powerful system. And now we're at the end of the level. It only took me like 2 minutes. Like, I like how the levels in this game are not overly long. So I go into the next wireframe special stage and I die. Yeah, they get a lot harder when you're expected to do actual platforming. Which you wouldn't expect that because, you know, the platforms are a lot further away from each other instead of being all walls. And the walls are wireframe and they sort of look like they have holes in them too. So you'd expect it to be easier because there's a whole bunch of platforms you have to jump to. And you can very clearly see the wireframe platforms are on, but it's still harder, it's still easier to walk off the edge in them. So, like, I'd say, like, don't just immediately give up when you go into a wireframe special stage. Like, try to beat it for the sake of it, because you might actually do it. It's not impossible. It's not nightmarishly hard. But it is bad design, though. I hate enemies like this. Like, I keep trying to jump and it doesn't go away from me, and then it traps me in a disco ball. And what's the point of these things? Are you supposed to get trapped in the bells to progress with the level? It looks like it. It looked like I just clipped through the... It looked like I just clipped through the left side of the bell to go into it. Like, it's harder than you'd expect to enter the bells. So I guess they were necessary to progress, but I'd rather just be able to jump down to a lower route. this takes longer. And this is the most awkwardly placed spike imaginable. How are you supposed to jump over it without having enough momentum? Because it's such a low ceiling. So you pretty much gotta be moving fast in order to jump over it. You didn't actually have to jump over that spike though, because it turns out that's the wrong way. Like I said, there's a lot of dead ends in the level design. It's too open for my liking. I like knowing where to go. And now it's time for the boss fight. Most of the boss fights in this game are pretty easy. Like, you literally just jump into the big glowing weak spot 5 times. Like, most boss fights in Sonic games take 8 hits to kill. At least the 2D ones anyways. But these boss fights don't take nearly as many hits to kill. I love the music that plays here. Unfortunately, the boss scenes can be pretty repetitive because there's not enough to them, but I still love the fact that every single boss has its own unique theme. And this is easily my favorite boss theme in the game. I love how it has a creepy atmosphere and it combines it has a carnival-esque theme to it. The only thing difficult about this boss fight is that your partner keeps getting swung around because he's attached to you and you're jumping everywhere. And the annoying thing is that when your partner gets hit, he loses rings for you. He loses rings when he gets hit by the spikes at the bottom of the platforms that move all over the place. And because of that, it's pretty much impossible to do a no-hit run of this. It's pretty much impossible to beat it without constantly losing rings because your partner will get hit if you don't. And that's so stupid. Because when you played Sonic and Tails mode in Sonic 2 and 3, you didn't lose rings if Tails got hit. I mean, he could collect rings for you, but he didn't lose rings for you if you got hit. Charmy has a really awkward animation where you're standing on that, because he doesn't have a spin dash. All the other characters have a spin dash, but Charmy doesn't. And not only that, but he can't jump either. That's why I just walked into the stage selector instead of just jumping into it, because Charmy can't jump. What he does is that he flies. And it's surreal looking at him and playing as him, because he literally looks like you're playing debug mode. Because you can just fly around and go wherever you want. And that breaks the game and kind of makes it boring to play through. That's why I saved Charmy for Amazing Arena. Because Amazing Arena is the most tedious level in the game to play through because it has the most dead ends. And it's the hardest to figure out how to beat it. Charmy's flight controls are kind of bad because they got slippery controls to them. Like, you keep on moving when you don't want to. And it makes hitting the buttons with Charmy really tedious. You can't jump, so if you even hit so much as a slightly raised, if you even hit so much as a knee-high wall, you have to fly over it. You fly by holding a direction and then pressing A and holding it. And I like to repeatedly tap the A button so that I keep dashing while flying. Because you move faster when you're dashing while flying. See what I'm talking about? It's so difficult to hit the buttons with Charmy. You gotta fly upwards, and then when you have enough height, but not too much height, you fly towards the wall. Or if the button is on the ceiling, then you have to stand still in a very specific place, stopping yourself, and then fly upwards. I think your partner can hit the light for you, but that's not always gonna happen. So yeah, I'm cheating through this level as Charmy. I think it's the smartest way to deal with it. But again, I was really lucky that I was able to do this, because the stage is randomized. There are randomized stages in this game. So there's no real way to have strategy when it comes to choosing your character, because you don't know what stage you're going to get. The only way you can completely ensure that you get Charmy for Amazing Arena is if you always play the game as Charmy, and that's boring. But again, I had experience where I accidentally exited a level because I pressed the load save button by mistake, and so I went through all of it again. I think it was in Speed Slider. Yeah, it was in Speed Slider because I got lost and didn't know I had to go to the higher route to get to the goalpost. So I basically accidentally rage quit a level, and when I hit the stage randomizer again, I got that exact same level. So maybe it's not as randomized as it looks. And why can he jump in the special stages but not in the actual game? Like, I'd like him to be able to jump in the game too. I guess the controls have to be kind of different. Like, you can only, like, you tap A and you jump, and you hold A and you fly. And it looks like you can time the stage randomizer, but really you can't, because the thing is, sometimes it slows down like it's about to hit a stage, but sometimes it'll move backwards, like the cursor that's highlighting the stage it's going to choose moves backwards instead of forwards. So even if you did time it perfectly, you might not get the stage you want. So unfortunately, not a lot of people will be able to play through all of these levels as Charmy, because you can't, I mean, again, I guess stage randomizer isn't completely randomized, so I guess what you could do is play a level, is just select a level, and then exit out of it if it's Amazing Arena. And then you just choose Charmy, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get the next level as Amazing Arena then. At least in my experience. Or maybe I just had a really big coincidence. Either way, it just seemed really weird that it picked the exact same stage that I already got with a stage randomizer. So I'm sorry I'm not showing off the legitimate way to play this level, because a lot of people aren't going to be playing it as Charmy because they don't know that they're going to get this level. It really is lucky of me that I was able to carry out my plan to beat all of Amazing Arena with Charmy, because the stage randomizer. I didn't think I would be that lucky, but I got just what I wanted. I only had to deal with this level towards the end of the game. Charmy is kind of boring to play as because no matter what, you can't play Charmy as a regular Sonic character. He can't roll into a ball, he can't roll down slopes, he can't spin dash, he can't jump. Literally the only way to play as Charmy is to break the level and fly over it. So he's easily the most broken character in the Sonic series. The most broken character in the Sonic series is not Tails. It's not Cream the Rabbit. It's easily Charmy. But Charmy is not very fun to play as because he's just too broken. Because part of the whole fun of playing a Sonic game is that you're going through the level, and you're taking advantage of the level design to move really fast. I'm not really getting any thrills from playing as Charmy. I mean, he moves fast enough, but not nearly as fast as Mighty. And you can't really do any platforming with Charmy either because all you can do is fly. In Sonic Heroes, you can play as Charmy, but he doesn't fly over everything. Like, you can still jump with Charmy. I sort of feel like he plays better in Sonic Heroes because he's not mind-numbingly broken. And in Sonic Heroes, Charmy is a flying type. And basically, you have 3 different characters with you at all times, and you can switch between them at will. You have a speed type character, which can move really fast and can create tornadoes around vertical poles that can bring you upwards. And you have the power type character, and that's the best for fighting enemies. But power type characters have a problem where a lot of the time they're going to fly off the edge of the stage while they're attacking enemies because their attacks propel them forwards. Especially a problem with Omega and Knuckles. And that combined with the slippery controls is part of why I don't think Sonic Heroes is a good game. And then there's the flying type character, which is easily the worst one because it doesn't really, it's so slow and you can't fly through the level freely with the flying types. And there's actually a limit to how high you can go. And when you try to fly with like Charmy or whatever in Sonic Heroes, you're forced to pick up and carry your partners. So you move slower, and you're forced to only be a very small height above the ground. And that combined with the fact that you're slow and you can't attack very well, there's really no reason to play as a flying character unless you absolutely have to. Which sucks because the flying type characters are usually the most broken in any Sonic game. And it's actually fun playing as Tails normally. Like, it's fun playing as Tails in Sonic 3. So even though he can fly, he's not broken. Because, get this, he can jump, he can spin dash, he can still curl into a ball. Tails can fly around, but he can also do everything Sonic can. So he's still fun to play through the levels in. You're not forced to fly with him, but you can if you want to. Charmy, on the other hand, doesn't give you a choice. See you for the next part.